The Old Testament makes it very clear that the Israelites were not to intermarry with the other nations. Does that mean that God prohibits interracial marriages today? I'm Michael, the Bible ReThinker, and it's time to rethink. Please be sure to subscribe to my channel and hit the like button, leave a comment, share this video with others, and visit my website, thebiblerethinker.org, to support this channel and to receive exclusive content. So what does the Bible say about interracial marriage? Well, God gave the people an explicit command in Deuteronomy chapter 7. And here's what he said. When the Lord your God brings you into the land you are entering to possess, and drives out before you many nations, the Hittites, Girgashites, Amorites, Canaanites, Perizzites, Hivites, and Jebusites, do not intermarry with them. Do not give your daughters to their sons, or take their daughters for your sons. So very clearly, God did not want the Israelites intermarrying with the people that had already resided in the promised land that they were now entering. But what was God's problem with those nations? Why did God not want the people to intermarry with them? Well, the reason is made clear in the very next verse. They will turn your children away from following me to serve other gods. The issue at stake here in marriage wasn't concerning the intermarriage of people with different complexions. In fact, for all we know, all these nations might have had the same complexion. The issue was that because of intermarriage, the Israelites would be led astray to worshiping other gods. God here isn't worried with maintaining a racial purity. He is interested in maintaining a purity of heart, an integrity of following God and God alone, and not serving the other gods. A misstep in this direction is expressed most fully by King Solomon. The Bible says King Solomon married these women from all over the world, all different nations. And those women led Solomon's heart astray. And since they brought with them, since they imported with them their own religions from their own parts of the world, Solomon began to participate in worshiping all those other gods. And then the effect trickled into Israelite culture, and the Israelites all throughout the kingdom joined in worshiping these other gods because they had been led astray by their leader, by Solomon. So the issue at stake here is not the actual race of the people they were going to marry. After all, what made Israel's race unique in the first place? I mean, it all starts with Abraham, and Abraham wasn't called because he was a particular complexion or because he was a particular race, which is really just a modern sociological construct of reality that has no connection to biology whatsoever. Abraham was called because of his faith. In fact, he had a nephew named Lot, and from Lot descended the Edomites and the Moabites. So biologically speaking, the Israelites were related to the Edomites and the Moabites. And yet they were prohibited from intermarrying with them. Why? Because the Edomites and the Moabites worshiped different gods than did the Israelites. God's primary intention and his instructions regarding intermarriage pertain to a desire to help maintain the theological integrity of the people of Israel. An important thing to note, even all through the Old Testament, is that there was always the possibility of people of other nationalities becoming integrated into Israel. They could do so by following God's laws. So a person who was not biologically part of Israel could become part of Israel. They could integrate into Israel and become a full member of Israel by being a follower of the Lord. So Israel all along is more about a religious identity than a national or an ethnic identity. In fact, even when we look at the genealogy of Jesus, we find women in his genealogy that were not Israelites, but were from outside of Israel. When we reach the days of Jesus, the Jewish perspective basically divided the world into two really big groups. Either you were a Jew or you were a Gentile. And devout Jews did not marry Gentiles. They were perceived as two completely disparate groups. But Paul has something really remarkable to say about those two different groups in light of what Jesus accomplished on the cross. Here's what he said in his letter to the Ephesians. For Jesus himself is our peace, who has made the two groups one and has destroyed the barrier, the dividing wall of hostility, by setting aside in his flesh the law with its commands and regulations. His purpose was to create in himself one new humanity out of the two, thus making peace. And in one body to reconcile both of them to God through the cross, by which he put to death their hostility. Because of what Jesus accomplished on the cross, the Jews no longer have to look at Gentiles as foreigners, because he has brought the two in and they have become one. Now, is he saying that all humanity has now become united because of what Jesus has done? Well, that's not exactly quite the case. Paul would still divide the world between two groups of people, but he would divide it between those who follow Christ and those who do not. But among those who follow Christ, they are one people. There is no Jew or Greek. There is no slave or free. They are all one people because of what Christ has done. Therefore, any marriage between any two followers of Christ, male and female, would constitute a marriage that God gives absolute full approval of. God is not concerned with a person's complexion or a person's race. And again, race is simply something made up by sociologists. There's no biological component to race. Paul's concern would simply be for believers to marry other believers. Now, what about if a marriage already consists of a believer and an unbeliever? Well, Paul would say the believer should still stay in that marriage, should still honor their marriage commitment. You don't jump out of it because your spouse is an unbeliever. But for those of you who are not married, if you're a follower of Jesus, Paul's direction would certainly be for you to marry another follower of Jesus. The person's skin color, complexion, those issues really don't matter.